We are so lucky to be joined tonight by the team behind Leguizamo Does America. In this new 6-part series from NBC News Studios and MSNBC Films, actor John Leguizamo travels across the country to celebrate the rich and diverse Latino culture from coast to coast, 6 different locations, exploring food, politics, music, and everything in between. Let's take a look.
Miami, Chicago, Puerto Rico, D.C., New York City, Los Angeles.
This place made me what I am, and it made me a fighter when I didn't want to be a fighter.
When I first got to Hollywood, I was told that if I changed my name, I would work much faster.
No one is going to fight more vigorously for the Latino community than Latinos themselves.
We're one Latin family. That's what we are.
And joining us live right now, you heard him there, the one, the only John Leguizamo, showrunner Carolina Saavedra, and director Ben De Jesus. This is the secret sauce behind this really magical show. So, John, you've been at the forefront of educating Americans about Latinos, right? About our history, about our culture, about Latino excellence. Talk to me about why you wanted to do this show right now.
Because I feel like we have such a great moment and opportunity to shine a light on Latin exceptionalism, Latin excellence. And this is the moment. If we don't do it now, when are we going to do it?
But for you, the education needs to continue, right? Because people tend to forget or they have no idea.
Well, we don't even have an idea.
Right.
I mean, we're not in our history textbooks in America. We're not in the Discovery Channel or the Learning Channel.
Yeah.
Our stories are nowhere to be seen. And we got thousands of stories, great stories, and exemplary people like Carolina and Ben De Jesus right here.
And that leads me to my next question. 75% of the people who put together the show were Latino. And Carolina, one of the things I told you, because I had the opportunity to watch the entire series, was that it felt so authentic. How are you guys able to do that? Because this is not cliche. I mean, even if you're Latino like I am, you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, knowing John, I didn't know him at the time, but I knew him as a personality, and I had been a fan of his for decades, and I could see his heart, you know, and I could see what he cares about. Every time I heard him speak, he came from a place of such authenticity that there was no way that we could make a show that was anything less than that, right? So right off the bat, we knew that it had to carry that with it, and so in the stories that we were finding, the people that we were trying to interview, they were going to be sometimes, you know, entrepreneurs who are doing really well, sometimes entertainers, sometimes singers, etc., but sometimes just your everyday people who make our culture in this country great on a day-to-day basis and offer so much to this country. And
then Ben, one of the fun things about the show is that you put John in all these situations, right? He's eating tacos that he can't handle with George Lopez, like way too spicy.
Thanks for repeating that.
He's dancing, which John can't dance, I'll give you that much. He's dancing. But also, he even goes to like an indigenous ceremony with real Tainos. And it's this beautiful experience. Talk to me about sort of filming and taping and putting John in these situations.
Sure. Well, I've been fortunate enough to be touring and working with John on documentaries for like the last 13 years. So I had a really good sense of what John's kind of game for, which is a lot. John loves to be in front of people. He's a very curious person. He's an academic. A lot of people don't realize how intellectual he is, but he has a curiosity that's very infectious. So I knew that if we put him in the right scenario, talking to incredible, extraordinary people who maybe aren't well known but deserve to be known, I knew that he would shine, and he really like exceeded our best expectations.
And they asked me, you know, said when we went to in Puerto Rico to the indigenous community, they were upset about something I said in Latin History for Morons.
Right.
That I said Tainos had been exterminated completely, and they felt it was damaging to
their heritage,
to their fight for their land, because the government can easily take it away from them.
Yeah.
And I apologized on camera, and I was okay. And these guys set it up, and I was okay with it because I felt it was important to do that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I liked, because the show keeps it real, right? And like, we don't always agree on things. Latinos come from various different countries, all different parts south of the border.
And we're Republican, we're Libertarian, we're Democrats, we're Socialists.
And there was a moment in the New York episode, John, that blew my mind, because it's a debate that happens around tables all across America about Latinx. And the response was hysterical. I want to show our viewers. Let's take a look at that clip.
You know, I want to understand, like, how did it happen?
So Latinx represented all Latin people, regardless of masculine, feminine, and then it has sort of a non-gender. So, but a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people, no, I like Latino, you know, leave it alone. Some people say I like Hispanic, you know.
Those are just inclusive terms that younger people have created to make space for people who don't feel represented and seen. And so as a woman and as a man who identify as Latina and Latino, when a non-binary person feels that they don't identify with either, they want a term that is inclusive of who they are.
And the first part of that conversation was Fat Joe saying, look, I don't even know what it means. And it's true, a lot of Latinos don't even know what it means. But you wanted to include that because it's like, it's real. That's what people talk about.
It's what people are arguing about because they Latin people like to argue.
Yeah.
So we're going to argue about something. Let's argue about that. But I like Latinx. It sounds like we're X-Men, like we got a superpower, like Latinxers. It's progressive. I like
John, there's also moments where you sort of, the way I described this on the Today Show is that you see your soul and you see the soul of different people across America. And that was the moment in the theater in Washington when those kids are talking about their immigrant experience, but also their experience being Latinos. And it is not an easy road for so many.
I know. These were kids who felt very sort of muted. They were being made fun of, picked because they had accents, because maybe they couldn't express themselves as clearly.
Something you went through.
Yeah, I mean, I was an immigrant kid, so yeah, obviously I was bullied. I was bullied even when I could speak English. I'm still being bullied sometimes by some people around me. I'm not going to name names, but yeah. So this place was so beautiful. It gave these kids a space to tell their stories, to be histrionic, and it was a very powerful moment.
But it brought you to tears.
Oh yeah,
it was so real.
I think all of us were brought to tears.
No, I mean, I'm an immigrant as well. I was picked on for a long time when I first landed in this country. I'm an ESL kid, although it was my third language actually. But
not showing off, not
No, but it's an experience that I think so many of us go through, and these kids feel alone. We felt alone, and this is a place that gives them community and it gives them an outlet and a place where they can really thrive.
Ben, how did you guys decide on the 6 locations? I mean, Latinos are all over the country. How did you guys pick these first 6?
Well, we were shooting in the middle of the summer, so we decided to pick the hottest cities
in August.
To make it challenging. But no, we figured, look, John is from the East Coast. He's from New York City, Jackson Heights, Queens. So we wanted to start there because that's where John's story begins. And then we just worked our way down the East Coast. We went to D.C. next, and we went to Miami, and we made our way to Puerto Rico, Chicago, and L.A. But it was about where our Latino communities are thriving. But there's a whole list of other cities that we want to.
And on that point,
Latin comedy circuit. We used to call it Cuchifrito circuit because we're New Yorkers. But it was 26 cities across America that have a huge Latin population, and they're big, bustling cities. And these were the first 6 of 26.
And then, so Carolina, on that point, is there going to be a season 2? Will Leguizamo take America again?
Knock
on wood.
Talk to your boss.
I think there's. He said, "Talk to your boss." All of us would love there to be. I think there's so many more stories clearly for us to tell and so many cities to hit.
Yeah.
And just, it would be incredible.
John, I'm going to give you the last word here. For somebody who's watching Top Story tonight, and for some reason, they're like, I'm never going to watch that show. I don't care. What would you tell them?
I tell you, you're missing out on laughter, on great music, on great food. And me, especially, you're missing a lot. And if you don't like me, well, what can I do?
Who doesn't like Johnny Legs?
That's right.
This is where you can watch it. Let's put it up on the screen so everyone can see it and they can take a picture and they can watch it. Leguizamo Does America, 6-part series. It begins this Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern on MSNBC, streaming on Peacock, where you find Top Story, of course. John, Carolina, Ben, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining Top Story tonight. Thank you for doing this, too, because I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot, and also it's going to touch a lot of people. I think it's really great work. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.